Hello, guys. How are you doing? Hope you're doing great. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, firstly, I would like to say a big, massive thank you. All the support over the past few videos has been phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal. And I truly appreciate it. And I must apologise for the lack of content. Recently, I've been going through a lot of health stuff, family life. You know, life gets in the way sometimes, but I promise from now on, I've got some amazing content lined up. But I'm lying. I've got some content. It may be amazing. It may not. That's down to you. But let's get on to today's video. Today is all about the 2022 iPad. Is it a Pro? Apparently, it's a Pro. The new 2022 iPad Pro. This is the M2 variant, recently released, and with a question mark of why. We'll get into that right after this. Right, guys, the most blatant cash grab ever made by Apple, and that is the iPad Pro 2022. And I just call it the iPad Pro M2 chip because that's the only thing different from this thing. And it pains me. It really does, because this iPad should not exist. It really shouldn't. For all intents purposes, it is exactly the same. This is Apple all over. It looks identical to the 2021. It runs identical to the 2021. And the upgrades they've given you are pointless. What are the upgrades, I hear you say? Because I'm very clever and you through screens. We now have an iPad Pro. Look at that, guys. It actually says Pro on the back. How new, how revolutionary, how Apple. And we have the M2 chip. Now, I used to have the M1 iPad and I quite enjoyed it. The M1 chip was way more powerful than what the iPad could leverage. So when I heard they were putting an M2 into this, I thought, why? And we have a new feature on here. Like, if you have the Apple Pencil, you can now, believe it or not, guys, I know you're going to say, Ron, you're lying. That wizardry would never happen, but it happened. You now get a hover feature. I'm not joking. You just hover your pencil just a couple of millimeters across the screen, and it will highlight what you're going to pick. You know, this is a feature that's software-based. They could implement this into the 2021 version and other iPads, but they won't. They keep it for their new, do I call it an upgrade? Yeah. Right. Another perplexing thing, we now have the ability to record in Apple ProRes. Now that is good, but considering even the cameras haven't been upgraded on this thing, and the native app does not support Apple ProRes, if you want to take advantage of Apple ProRes, then you need to download a third-party app. Now, as for a generational leap, this is not it. Let me show you a true generational leap, because a generational leap is supposed to be better than the previous. Improve, be slightly quicker. And this is a generational leap.
You alright, Dad?
Hello, son. This is my son, Logan. This is what a generational leap really looks like. I'm old, I'm sore, I've had my time. He's young, he's virile, and he's a damn sight better looking than I am. You know, we haven't just put a new chip in him and made him do the same things I can do. He does better. Now, you've got the M1 iPad.
I do, yeah.
And what do you think of it?
I quite like it. It is really good. Saying that, I haven't scratched the capabilities of it because I use it for everyday life stuff, writing down my lectures at uni. Spotify, I've noticed, it's got really loud speakers, which is good when I'm outside in the garden. I'll just put Spotify on and sit there and chill out. And I also watch a lot of YouTube on it because the screen is massive.
It is. And like you said, with the sound, them quad speakers just make the sound brilliant.
Yeah, they are really good.
We have the same on here. Identical. Could I ask you, have you ever encountered any situation where you thought, do you know what, this iPad just can't handle this?
No, I think it's great. It's perfect pretty much for what I do.
Never slows down?
No.
Never fails to open an app? Never get app crashes?
Nah, never.
Do you know what? I didn't think so, because it doesn't. And that's the point. It did not need the M2. But yet we've got it. And it's just so Apple. can charge you full price for last year's iPad. Well, at this point, for nearly 2-year-old iPad. And that's it. I mean, the same time they brought this out, they brought out the 10th generation iPad, the bog standard one. And with that, they did exactly what we wanted. They moved the camera round to the landscape orientation. So now, when you're on FaceTime, you don't have to awkwardly look off to your camera to make eye contact with yourselves or whoever you're talking with. Whereas before, on this one, if I'm looking at who I'm talking to, it looks like I'm not engaging because my eyes are here and the camera's looking at me from this angle. And that was the biggest flaw. I mean, Apple, we've asked you so many times, move the camera around to a place where it's usable. You know, I mean, yes, if you're in portrait, you know, you can make a call and it doesn't look as awkward. But no one does that. When you make a call, you're in that orientation, you know? So it makes sense. And don't get me wrong, the iPad is fantastic. It is a great tool. Will you replace a laptop? No. Do you need one if you've got an iPhone? Yeah, because it does different things. You know, and you pair it up with an Apple Pencil, and it's a fantastic productivity suite. And now you've got DaVinci Resolve on it. It's just elevated that a little bit more. I am not here to say the iPad is bad. I'm here to say that we don't need the 2022 rendition of it. It's just an absolute waste. I would have been happy with the rumours coming out that the 2023 is going to have the camera in the landscape orientation and we're going to have the M3 chip. Why not just continue running the M1 iPad until then? Because here's the thing. If you were going to buy this iPad right now, you know, just for the base model, and that is Wi-Fi with 128 gig, and that's not much. You're going to, these are 256s, you know, you need that little bit more. Ideally 512, but I wasn't going to stretch to that. But if you were going for the base model, what would they be looking at for this iPad?
For the M2, it's about 1,249 quid.
Right. That's about the going rate for an iPad. But I would honestly recommend that you go on to such as Amazon Renewed, and their process is brilliant because you don't like the product. You've got 3 months to return it. And if I was going to get an Amazon Renewed one, your model, the M1, what price am I looking at?
About 881 quid.
881 pounds. You're saving. You know, you could buy the M1, and if you want the overly expensive Magic keyboard that makes your iPad look like it floats, then you can buy that as well for the same price as this, and still probably have a couple of pounds left over. You know, so it makes no sense. There's no upgrade here. There's no price to performance value. It holds nothing. So please, if you are going to get an iPad, you want the Pro. These being the 12.9 versions, because to be honest, if you get an iPad, bigger is better. So I'm being told. But, I mean, personally, what would you do?
I'd probably stick with the M1 rendition, yeah.
If you didn't have the M1 and you were in the market for an iPad, what would you then choose?
Well, as a uni student, I'm skint anyway. If there's no real upgrade on it, I'd still pick the M1. There's no point if it hasn't improved in any massive way.
And that's exactly right. That is a savvy buyer. It is. And this is the point. If people keep buying these things, when there's no value proposition, then you're giving the company the okay to say, do you know what? We can keep doing this. And that's the predicament we're in. From every company we go to, we keep buying their trash. So they keep offering us trash. And we just keep lapping it up. But now it's time we say, no, we'll stick with what works for us and what saves us a bit of money. And on that, I'm going to shoot off into the background. Logan, thanks, son.
All right. Make sure you like and subscribe to Ron's Gaming Moments, and we'll catch you on the next one.
He's a Gordon saying, thanks, guys.